All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and today I'm talking about what do I think about Elon Musk. Is he going to do good things with Twitter? Is he going to do bad things? But before we get into that, be sure to like and subscribe, all of that jazz. So basically, I think Elon Musk, his Twitter takeover can be really good or really bad. It ultimately depends, and I try really, really hard not to be ideologically biased as we're living in a world where everybody just assumes that somebody's bad because they don't believe what they believe, and I don't think that's a really good way to go about it. And so now Elon Musk does tend to be more in line with what I believe, not completely. I do have some concerns about how he might, run Twitter and how he might solve the bullying issue. We'll get into that a little bit. Elon Musk said he's a free speech absolutist. I'm not quite on that level, even though I do and I despise cancel culture very, very much, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm just not quite there with him on that. So we'll get into all of that today and more because I got lots of stuff to say. And so, really, the biggest thing for me was that, with the verification thing is that, if anybody can just buy it, then what's the point? Like, I was, at first when I heard about it, I was excited because, of course, I would want to be verified so that you guys would know that it's actually me on Twitter. But if anybody can buy a check mark and then just impersonate me, well, then that's not verification. That is. And so I was pretty bummed out and disappointed with that. Like, I thought, hey, I will give you, I'll give them my driver's license. They will verify that I am this person. They will verify my identity, and then people wouldn't be able to impersonate me with another blue check mark. You can only get a blue check mark if you verify that you are who you are. I thought that's how it would work, but apparently not. And it didn't really work out. They've stopped it. I don't know where they are with that. I'm sure they're working on it and figuring it out, but I was a little bummed to see that the obvious wasn't played. I don't really know why you would think that just being able to buy verifications would be a good idea. I saw that they wanted to have like a gray check mark, but then what's the point of a blue check mark? It literally means nothing. And so I wouldn't even, it means nothing. And so I don't really know what to think about that, but I still think that it can be really, really good. I am especially looking forward to if he actually comes through on this. And Elon Musk, he comes through on a lot of things, but it takes a really long time. Tesla apparently takes forever to get cars out. There's some problems or not and things like that. So we'll see if he actually comes through on this, but I am mostly looking forward to monetization and long form video content, because if it becomes a YouTube competitor, yeah, I'm gonna be on there, and I'll be doing live streams on there too, trying to make double the ad revenue. That would be absolutely amazing. So I am excited for that, and I am glad that at least people aren't getting banned for like stupid reasons. Like, I thought the reason that Jordan Peterson got banned was really, really dumb, although in a sense I can see where they're coming from, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in a different stream, because I got to get my thoughts together on that, because I'm kind of here and there on that. But I'm glad that, people aren't just being banned for being, a conservative. It seems that conservatives are the only ones who get banned. Rest assured, there's a lot of liberals who probably deserve it as well. But my whole thing is just be kind and be nice. Like, if you're a bully, you're going to have issues. Everyone says, oh, Twitter's the town square, and so you don't get to censor it. Everybody should be able to say what they want. It's like, you don't think people got kicked out of the town square back in the day? Like, imagine, just go back a couple hundred years and everybody's in the town square, you're discussing philosophy, say you're in ancient Greece or something, and some drunk guy walks into the town square and starts spouting off all kinds of nonsense and racism and making life miserable for everyone there who's genuinely trying to have a conversation. You don't think they threw idiots out of the town square? Of course they did. And so that's kind of my thing, where I'm not quite a free speech absolutist, as I do believe that there is a responsibility that comes with every freedom. Like, yes, you have the freedom to speak your mind, but if you say really stupid and really controversial, really upsetting, incendiary, anger-provoking stuff in a way that just makes people feel that it's like, yeah, don't expect people to have a good reaction to that. Like, you'll get thrown out of the town square. And, I'm against censorship, but at the same time, it's kind of has to be a balance, right? I'm all about balance, and I think everybody is going too far in one direction. You have the woke left who somehow believe that being offended is a bad thing, when if you just practiced a little bit of stoicism and meditation and open-mindedness, you'd realize that being offended is absolutely a choice that you make, and you can control yourself, so we don't have to worry. If I just plainly say my ideas, like say I just expressed my opinion that being offended is a choice. I did not say it in a way that was malicious. I did not intend to hurt you. If you take offense to that, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Like, you chose to take a simple statement and get upset about it. Now, if I deliberately go out of my way to provoke you and say most mean and nasty, demeaning way possible, then yes, I'm sure I would bear some responsibility for your feelings, because I intentionally went out of my way to provoke your feelings. But if I'm just having an opinion and kindly and politely stating it, and then you're offended by it, well, guess what? Your feelings don't matter that much. They matter, but they don't matter that much for me to not say and have a chance to say what I want to say. And so you have all these people on the left who are like, doesn't matter. You have a bunch of people on the left who's like, oh my gosh, if anybody feels upset by what you said, that's really, really bad, and we have to protect them from that. And so we have to censor everything that's not popular. And it's like, well, one, that's stupid, because what's popular and considered politically correct literally changes every single year. Like, at one point, it was politically correct to, own slaves, and it was very unpopular to try to stop people from doing it, but that didn't make it right or wrong. Good thing that the right people won out and we don't do that anymore, but what's politically correct changes all the time, and it's based on people's feelings. And when we live in a culture of uneducated people who don't know how to monitor their feelings, then obviously, people are going to be offended by stuff, and you can't go all the way and just start censoring everything. Whereas on the other hand, everybody who was more conservative and not following mainstream ideology, they started saying things that they expressed themselves, and they started getting censored for no reason. And then they reacted and went really far and said, no, freedom of speech is for everybody, and we can say whatever the heck we want. I feel like some people are leveraging that and using that as an excuse to, like, just be a bully. It's like free speech, and then they just bully somebody. It's like, that's not what free speech is for. And so I feel like there's a happy middle area that I think we can meet as a society if we're just willing to, breathe and calm the frick down and actually, like, talk to people and, be reasonable. And I hope that Elon Musk figures that out, and that Twitter becomes, a really healthy and positive place, because it definitely had a bullying problem before. It was a dumpster fire, so it's not like censoring people stopped it from being a terrible place to be. So hopefully, they figure out how to make it a really nice and constructive place to be that's not too big on censorship, but also doesn't allow bullying. I'm not going to pretend to be smart enough to know exactly how to do that, but I'm rooting for them to figure it out. And so, moving right along to our next topic is patience. Patience is a discipline that I have been struggling to master for a decent amount of time. I feel like my whole life has been one repeating cycle of, let's take everything at once and swallow it all at once, and we'll work super, super hard, and then we'll burn out and collapse and fall on our face, and then, we'll just have to recuperate from there. And I want to talk a little bit about, like, if you're patient, doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It means that you're recognizing your work ability and you're doing it consistently, instead of going super, super intense and then crashing and not doing anything for a bit and then trying to go super intense again. I'm trying really, really hard for myself to, really get to a place where I can be, consistent on things, smaller things, and patient enough to not try to make those small things into big things to the point where I can't do them every single day, because it's just so draining and just takes, so much work. That takes a little bit of while, but I would have a look at your daily routine and your performance. If you find that you stick to something for about 6 days or 8 days, but then you completely fall off and it takes you like 4 to 5 days to get back on track with the new habit or the new productivity hack or the new, schedule that you have, it's possible that you're actually overworking yourself a little bit and you're not working towards consistency, you're doing intensity. And the problem with intensity is like, yes, intensity consistently will give you better results. But if you haven't yet grown to the point where you can consistently put out that kind of intensity, you're actually just going to slow yourself down because you're going to go super intense and then crash and then not do anything and you'll get results. So I think it's better for me, and I'm proposing to you guys, that we try to push ourselves to get better, but we do it in slow increments and we slowly get better and better, and we make consistency the focus. And whenever consistency is broken, we have to go back and retool things a little bit to make sure that we can continuously do the right things, because we are what we repeatedly do, not what we do really intensely for 2 days, if you know what I mean, right? You can work out really hard for 2 days, but then if you're so sore you don't go back to the gym for 2 months, then it kind of ruined it. It's better to go to the gym consistently, and eventually you'll see results and do small increases in intensity along the way. So that's my thoughts about stuff, and yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And I've just been thinking a lot. The Black Panther movie that came out, Wakanda Forever, and some people were saying that you're not supposed to go see it if you're white. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to go see it because, I have to respect the black community. And, obviously because I'm white, I shouldn't be there to support this movie, right? No. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's like, Hollywood doesn't make anything unless it makes them money. And so if you want more black representation in superhero movies, you have to make them a lot of money. How do you make them a lot of money? Everybody goes to see the darn thing as soon as possible. And so you're just shooting. If you're one of those people who's like, oh, you shouldn't go see Black Panther because you're white and you have to wait a week or something, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because in order to get more representation in movies, it has to be profitable for Hollywood. Otherwise, they'll stop doing it. Because as woke and as righteous as Hollywood likes to be, people change very quickly when the money dries up. So I guarantee you, I think most people who are woke, and they're just posing as super righteous and super altruistic people. But I guarantee you, as soon as the money dries up, things will look a little bit differently. And I do believe that representation, matters in media, and so it is something that I want. I think you can do it right and wrong, but it is something that I believe in. And so I want Black Panther to succeed. And so obviously, if I felt like going to see Black Panther, I would go. I still didn't go because Tuesdays are cheaper. Yeah, not because I'm white. Yeah, I don't. You don't get to. That's like segregation, right? Is it? Not quite, but it's close enough to make it slightly uncomfortable, right? It's like, you don't get to tell me not to go to a movie because of my skin color, because my skin color doesn't define me, and I encourage everyone to not define themselves by their skin color. Yes, it is a part of us and always will be, but we get to choose who we are. What we are, we can't change, but we always get to choose who we are. And so I would focus on that more instead. And, representation obviously matters because, people need to see that they can be a part of something. It's a very good argument against that, and I think they're both true. So for example, you could say that if someone doesn't believe that they can do something, it's the fault of the people who are raising them and put that into them. It's like, hey, if you raise a child to believe that they can't do something because of their skin color, it's like it's the fault of the person who raised them that way, not necessarily media. And I would agree with that. I would simply say that there's enough nuance in the debate for both to be true. It's like, yes, you don't want to raise a kid and tell the kid, oh, you're of a certain ethnicity or color, which means you're going to be held back in life, because that colors their lenses. And if they believe that they're being held back and they don't have a vision for their life because they were just told that they can't, yeah, that's not gonna work out very well. So you definitely don't want to teach children to be victims. On the other hand, because their vision matters, what they get to see in the world affects the opportunities that they can see and take advantage of. On the other hand, it's also good. Stories are incredibly powerful ways to teach people how to orient themselves in the world, and especially for young impressionable children. I think it is important to see that, oh, there's someone who looks like me, comes from the same situation as me, and they are being successful, and to have those inspiring stories. And so I think both are important, and I think that the biggest issue with Hollywood is that they are foregoing telling good stories just to shoehorn in random, token characters that check the box, but don't actually do anything for the story, and therefore they actually disrespect the people that they're trying to represent, because the most motivating, in order for a story to inspire us and move us to do things, it has to be a good story. And so if you're just shoehorning characters in there in order to try to check off representation box, but it ruins the story and it's not really good, it's actually going to be forgettable, and it's not going to inspire the children, ethnic minorities that you would want to inspire, because it's just not good. And so you kind of shoot yourself in the foot when you put, self-righteousness and virtue signaling ahead of just making a really good product. An example of that would be Rose from The Last Jedi. And no disrespect to the actress, she does not deserve any of the hate that she got for that role. I happily and freely condemn everybody who sends hate messages to celebrities just because they're part of a woke agenda or something. It's like, I do not rock with that at all. You're basically a hypocrite in my mind, and it's like, oh, you're posturing yourself as a righteous person, and the woke agenda is bad, and you're a good guy, and Hollywood's bad. The woke agenda is bad for society, but then you go ahead and turn around and send death threats and bully threats and mean tweets and stuff to an actress who was just doing her job, just because they're ideologically different from you, or playing a character that you thought was put into a movie for the sake of a woke ideology. Yeah, you're no better than the left, so don't do that. And so, yeah, just had to put that out here. But anyways, the character, in terms of writing, that was a very bad way to do representation, because you shoehorned this extra character into a trilogy, and the movie ended up taking everything in a weird turn. It wasn't all that good. And then the third movie, they had to put everything back together, sort of, and it ended up being just a cobbled up mess. Didn't have barely any screen time whatsoever. So in the end, they tried to shoehorn a token Asian character in there in order to have representation, which is not a bad thing, but it did it at the sacrifice of good story, which means they ended up disrespecting, I think, the people that they were trying to, represent in the first place, because they couldn't write the character any good arc for the third movie. And so everyone was like, wait, I love Rose, but she's not in the third movie. What the heck, Disney? It's like, that's representation done really, really badly, because they sacrificed the story, and now you end up just disrespecting the people you're trying to help to begin with. But representation done well, I think, is something like Shang-Chi. It's a freaking awesome movie. That's an awesome movie. Shang-Chi is, Asian people, Asian culture, all these sorts of things. I had a wonderful time. I got to see different characters do all sorts of awesome things. I got to see new cultures that I've never seen or been to before. It was a very wonderful, eye-opening experience. And I enjoyed the movie, even though I'm tactically not really in it. But I enjoyed the movie because it was a good quality movie. And I got to be exposed to Asian culture and, Asian way of thinking. They put all kinds of really wonderful things into the movie, and it was a wonderful experience for me, even though, it's not ethnically my thing. it was still a great movie and it was a great experience. That's representation done well. Something that we can all come together and celebrate, certain cultures and parts that are from different parts of the world with a great story. And I'm more than happy to celebrate Shang-Chi, and I can't wait to see the character again because he's actually really, really cool. And my feelings on Black Panther are the same. I'll probably go see the second one at some point. And yeah, I thought the first one was great. And I'm happy to watch movies that are made that are for characters that are different than me, showing characters coming from different backgrounds than what I came up with. That's awesome. Like, I don't want to see the same thing every single time. I want to see new things. I want to be exposed to new cultures and learn, different experiences. And, that's a wonderful thing. So I don't have a problem with Hollywood pushing representation into movies. You just have to do it right and tell a good story. And don't lecture me. Do not talk down to me and tell me what I should think. That's not a good story. That's a sermon pretending to be entertainment. If I want a sermon, I will go to church or look at a lecture. If I want to be lectured, I'll go to YouTube and watch a lecture on gender, social, geopolitical politics, or whatever. I want to be entertained. And the best way to teach people is actually to ask great questions. And a good example of that would be Attack on Titan. If you've watched season 4 of Attack on Titan, you know that it's very relevant to a lot of geopolitical situations going on in the world right now. And so, but it doesn't lecture me. It doesn't tell me who's right or who's wrong. It just shows me this awesome epic story. And I'm left thinking, like lying awake at night thinking, oh my God, what would I do if in that situation? Who's right or wrong? I don't, and that's how you teach. If you want to teach a message, that's fine. We've been teaching messages with stories for centuries. That's how we teach each other. That's how we share information. It's with stories. But there's a difference between, teaching someone and respecting them hard questions and letting them walk away pondering the situation that the characters are in, and then just blatantly, lecturing them. And so that's my issue with woke Hollywood. I don't have a problem with seeing different people on screen or having different opinions expressed by the characters. I love being challenged. That's part of the fun. If I see a character that is in a certain situation and they handle the situation differently than I would have, I get to walk away thinking, that was very, very interesting. I'm going to have to think about that. But if the movie is just blatantly shoving a particular idea in my face, that's when I get turned off. I don't like. I have no problem with representation. I have no problem with being exposed to new ideas and different beliefs through movies, as long as you are respecting me as an audience member and you're just getting me to ask good questions, and most importantly, telling me a great story, because that is the point of a story, is to be good and entertaining in the first place. And so those are my thoughts on representation in Hollywood, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Now we're getting into a review. I like to review anime with you guys because I love anime, and we're going to be doing a lot of anime reviews here just because it means a lot to me. So today we're starting, the very first anime review on this channel is Code Geass, because holy heck, that was a fantastic show. I absolutely love that show, and that's actually perfect for what we were talking about earlier in this stream about, stories teach us things, but the best way to teach is to ask really, really good questions, not shove the answer in my face or preach it to me or lecture me. This show does a fantastic job of that. It's a very, very huge moral conundrum that's very difficult to solve, and it shows it from different characters' points of view, and each character's point of view feels valid, and so you're invested in the conflict. The conflict means something to you, and you get to lay awake at night pondering about what you would do if you were in that situation. And that's how we learn, because when the wheels in our heads turn, that's what makes a good story, if I can walk away from an anime thinking about things like, oh my God, what would I do if I was in that situation? That's a good show. because not only am I entertained and invested enough, I'm entertained enough to be invested in the show to bother thinking about it when I'm done watching it all. But the show is designed and asks really, really great questions, so I keep pondering them over and over longer than after I finish watching the show. That is how you know that you have created a fantastic piece of art, and Code Geass is that exactly. And everything is just absolutely fantastic, and I'm not sure if anything tops it. I think Attack on Titan will top it. Depends on how it ends. And, you know, one of my favorite aspects of Code Geass is that this show, you think it's over at a certain point. Like when you get through season 2, you know, spoiler alert, go away now if you want to watch it and not have it spoiled. But spoiler alert, you know, the main character succeeds at killing, you know, the Emperor. And you think, oh, this show's done. But no, more episodes. And it's like, what the heck could possibly happen? And it ends up being you kill the big bad, and then there's all the conflict between people who are left over and the survivors of the conflict. And it is so, so good. The last 10 episodes of Code Geass are probably some of the best. In fact, the entirety of Code Geass is some of the best. But in terms of, you know, the best quality for that show, I think is near the end. And that's how you know you've made a really, really good show. Is like you stuck the landing so hard that it's undeniable that the last 10 episodes were like the best in a show that is the best. Like Code Geass is one of the best animes ever made, in my opinion. And it just gets better. And so that is my review, my first anime review on the channel. I'm going to be watching a lot of anime and sharing it with you guys and sharing my drawings of the anime as well. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed it. That is the end of the stream for today. I am hoping to stream to you guys a lot more. Please hit the like and subscribe button. The channel is just getting started, and so I would love to see you guys later on. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day.